A very good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are watching us from home, thank you so much for making the time this Sunday evening to join us on a very important conversation that touches on each and every single person's lives. And we're talking about the workplace. And this is even as we prepare for the World Day for Safety and Health at Work, which will be marked tomorrow. That is on 28th April 2025. And it's under the theme, the impact of digitalization and artificial intelligence to safety and health of workers. And I'm pretty sure if you probably have internet or the conversations that we have with our friends and family, majority of the times, the conversation is always on the impact of AI. And I know majority of us have been told, well, you know, technology is here, it's going to take our jobs, and then most of us will be rendered obsolete. Some of the jobs will be rendered obsolete. So there's a lot of fear when it comes to AI and technology and digitalization, and of course the impact that it has, especially on workplaces. So today we want to have a conversation surrounding the same and get to understand how can we leverage the power of AI and digitalization and technology in its sense, but also ensure that it protects the workers, you know, in different institutions. So this is a conversation that you do not want to miss. And as we began, you saw very beautiful shots. We're coming to you from the county of Laikipia, and we just want to say a special thanks to the county government of Laikipia for allowing us to use their space, and that is the County Hall here in Laikipia. It's very cold, you know, but it's good. It's a good thing. I think that is one of the perks of being kando ya mlima, but chini ya mlima. So we have an amazing panel with me this evening, and I'm just going to start on my immediate right. We have Dr. Musa Nyandusi Lugari, who's a Secretary, Occupational Safety and Health from the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services. They call it DOSH. Good to have you this Sunday evening. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Winnie.
And thank you so much for making the time. We also have Mrs. Irene Wanjiru Karanja, who's the Director of Occupational Safety and Health Services, and she's responsible for Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Thank you so much for making the time. How are you? How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you for having us here
And thank you for making the time. And we have Dr. Andrew Muruka, who's the Head Work Injury Benefits Administration. I'm pretty sure majority of you've had a conversation about WIBA. He's the one responsible. And that is from the Director of Occupational Safety and Health Services. Thank you so much, Dr. Ari, as well, for making the time. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing well, and I like this weather.
You like the weather?
It's wonderful.
Hey,
weather.
and we also have an amazing audience with us. He says it's wonderful. Some of us were struggling here. We also have an amazing audience with us. Tujipigie makofi, to also hold this very important conversation. And I'm just going to start with you, Dr. Musa. You see, like I said, there's a lot of fear when it comes to AI. And a lot of people are like, so what's going to happen to us in the next 5 years? And I will... what is it called? Confess. Some of us who were told, you know, you're a journalist, in the next 10 years, we'll have a robot doing news. And then where would you guys go? So there's so much about fear when it comes to AI, you know, and all those things. But even as we focus on the same, please just start by telling people what you do, what are you responsible for in, you know, in the conversation today, and why it's important to have you in the conversation this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Winnie. It gives me a lot of pleasure to be here today. Today is the 27th of April. It's the day that precedes the 28th of April, which is the World's Day for Safety and Health.
Yeah.
It's a day which has been set aside by the International Labour Organization as a day when we commemorate those workers who have been injured or who may have lost their lives in the course of work.
Yeah.
And also gives us time to reflect about the journey, the national journey for safety and health. For those who may not know, the ILO determined occupational safety and health to be a fundamental principle and right at work, and elevated all the conventions relating to the International Labour Organization relating to occupational safety and health to become fundamental conventions. Yeah. So we are joining the rest of the world in celebrating today. And across the world, the theme is automation, digitalization, and artificial intelligence. We know where the world is. We know where the world is going. I have the privilege of heading the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health. I serve as Secretary of Occupational Safety and Health. It's a department in the State Department for Labor and Skills Development in the Ministry of Labor. and the social protection. We are charged with the responsibility to ensure safety and health in all workplaces, both public and private, and to also process benefits for those workers who may get, unfortunately, who may get injured and suffer disability in the course of their work, and of course to compensate their families for those who may unfortunately die. It's an onerous task, and nothing puts it more in focus than a day like today.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely. Ms. Irene, your department, you know, because someone might be watching us and thinking, sasa nitaongea na nani, nitaenda kwa nani? Tell us a little bit about the department that you had.
Yes, I head a Department of Occupational Safety and Health Administration. This is a division in the directorate, and our work is to prevent occupational accidents from happening in all workplaces.
All right.
And I have a great team. We have a number of units in there, and we are also in the field. Currently, we are in all the 47 counties of Kenya. So we have officers there, and our main work really is to get to the workplaces. So we can say our main mandate is inspections of workplaces for main reason, prevention of accidents and ill health. But obviously, because not all of them might be prevented, that's why we have the other division headed by Dr. Muruka that deals with after the accident. But for us, we have a number of units. I think we'll talk about that later.
Yes, as we
but
continue.
That is the gist of it.
All right,
you.
fantastic. And, you know, Dr. Muruka, sasa tukisema wiba this, viva wiba. Yeah, help us understand how important the division that you hold is to today's conversation.
Thank you very much, Winnie. I think WIBA is becoming the most important issue to be discussed by nearly everyone. This is because when things go wrong, it touches the heart of the human life. You get injured, or you die. And if you get injured, actually, you need to be compensated if there is any permanent or total disability, or even temporary disability. And the reason why this division is important is that the division processes work injury benefits from the entire country. For the entire country, we process work injury benefits, both for public sector workers and also for private sector workers. So our main role is to ensure that an injured person is compensated. And if there is any person, permanent or total disability, that disability must be assessed. And also, prior to that, we must conduct inquiries to confirm that it is a genuine claim. You know, sometimes people file claims that are not genuine, and so we have to do inquiries to ensure that we get the right person who got injured at the right time and place alleged, and ensure that if there is any permanent or total disability, it is assessed well. If there is any dispute arising therefrom, our role is to ensure that we adjudicate on those disputes. And if we fail to adjudicate, then of course we refer them to the Employment and Labor Relations Court to deal with the rest of the matters.
Okay, you know, we're talking before we came on air and you say, no, Squeezy hatuna thread, Squeezy we talk, we converse. Yeah, we talk. And we can all understand how important you guys are in this conversation this evening. And really, like we said, AI and the digital tools are actually revolutionizing, occupational safety and health today. So, Dr. Nyandusi, can we just talk about digitalization first of all, and AI? And how that has impacted one way or the other, whether positive or negative, the Kenyan workforce today. And you also mentioned a little bit about ILO, and they released a report just recently. So maybe touch on that a little bit as well.
I think Kenya joins the rest.
To the mic? Yes.
Yes, Kenya joins the rest of the world in acknowledging the role of artificial intelligence and how AI is revolutionizing the workplace. Yeah. Digitalization and, of course, automation. It's evident that the government today, we have adopted to a large extent the issue of automation and digitization.
Yes.
We know it was a clarion call by the president that we must make services citizen friendly, And one of the ways to make services citizen-friendly is for us to make ourselves accessible. And one of the ways we can make ourselves accessible is through the issues of automation and digitization, and with it, artificial intelligence. The president has been on the forefront of saying, finya computer utoe dollar, ama upate dollar. So you can see the conversation of automation and digitization is a conversation that is with us and is relevant today. Yeah. At the directorate, we are in tandem with the rest of the government in the sense that we have digitized most of our services. Previously, until about a year ago, you needed to physically come to our offices for you to get service. I think today we are proud to say that you are able to get majority of our services from the comfort of your office. We have a premium responsibility to register all workplaces. Previously, the workplaces that had to be registered had to physically come with forms and make periodic visits to see whether your registration has come through. This time, I'm glad to say that you are able to do that from the comfort of your home and pay through the eCitizen platform and be able to get your registration certificate at the comfort of your office. And it has a QR code which our officers would easily be able to verify if that has done. And most of our activities, our officers are able to conduct their inspections. The inspection of workplaces becomes one of the biggest outputs that we have, and they are able to conduct their inspections online. And this is real-time captured, and there's a sense of accountability with work. I think we used to say that civil servants place coats on the chairs and take a walk. I must tell you, we must thank digitization with the fact that we can be accountable to our citizens and to our stakeholders. The organization of work in general acknowledges the issue of automation. Yeah. And automation, to a large extent, for any occupational safety and health expert, recognizes that it takes away the potential threat to human life. Okay. You are able to automate some of the more hazardous roles to the machining process, and therefore the clear risk, especially musculoskeletal risks on things that are being carried, you know, they're obviously reduced. We know that today there are lots of work that is done on platforms. So AI, in essence, will not take away your jobs. Today we do have international organizations that our taxi drivers will work for, Uber and the rest. The only reason they are able to work on those platforms is because digitization and automation has given them a certain platform for them to work. So it's true that the workplace will stand disrupted. It's inevitable that the workplace will stand disrupted. This is the subsequent revolution. I think we had that old industrial revolution where people stopped doing things one by one manually. We got into the mass production. This is the second and most important revolution in terms of getting automation, digitization, and artificial intelligence. And the truth of the matter is that artificial intelligence is not going to replace humans. Okay. But the reality is the human beings who do not adopt to artificial intelligence are likely to be replaced.
Yes.
Hey,
I read. Just so you see, when Dr. Chari talks about how AI is here, digitalization is also here to help, yes, in a way, make work easier for the workers, but also the whole aspect about comfort and convenience for the general public who are seeking, say, particular services. It seems like now, hakuna risk. You know, where's the risk? Because AI, automation, technology, digitalization is handling all these things. So is there any risk? There is. All right, speak closer to the mic, yes. Mm-hmm.
We need to take care of it.
Okay.
The ones that are brought about by digitalization and AI, mainly for digitalization, we are using a lot of computer screens, visual display units. So those ones might not go away soon because there will be glare. There will be, just getting tired. And then there is, of course, the sitting. So we expect musculoskeletal disorders coming from there. And then what has happened with digitalization and AI, there is a lot of information overload, such that there will be strain, a lot of mental strain, yes, a lot of burnout. It's already happening. People have started feeling it. So when you add AI into it, and I will give you an example of some of the work that we do,
Okay.
especially now. In fact, I will use the
You
WeBank.
get an
Yes.
example. Okay.
When you find our system, we have a system, the Occupational Safety and Health Management Information System. It has obviously made our work more efficient, better, but when you look at how we are doing things now, because what happens is that when work comes in, when an employer or an occupier needs something, or a person is injured, and somebody needs to look at the injury form and where the injury has happened and work on it, and do what it is that we are doing on paperwork. What we are doing now, that work is being sent to officers automatically.
Okay.
Yes. So as long as it's coming in, before we had a head of department, a head of unit, or a head of county who had to distribute to the officers. But then now, as it comes, it automatically goes to the particular officers.
Yeah.
So there might be a time when there might be work overload.
Yes.
Because the officers ni wale at work, but as long as there is more coming, now that we have digitalized, it means more people will be able to get to us. So more work is coming in. So there is a possibility of workload
yes,
overload. And
Yeah.
this obviously will bring mental strain. So that is another area which I know we need to take care of and make sure that people don't get overload. Yeah.
I see that. And plus there's so many other things that come with it, because most of the time, and when we talk about change and embracing change, disruption, like Dr. said, it's here and we have to embrace it. There's that push and pull, people are like, no, but this will take our jobs, but he says absolutely not. But we'll also discuss on what are some of the different ways that then we can make sure that both human and AI technology can work together, so that nobody is afraid that their work will be taken away. And also speak on the issues about upskilling, reskilling, relearning some of those things, which again we'll talk about as we continue with the conversation. So Dr. Muruka, you talked about injuries, workplace injuries, and you said you have to be injured at the right place.
Yes.
So when we talk about workplace injury, so what exactly qualifies as a workplace injury? What is compensable? What is not? So that me doing my errands and then I fall and then I come back and say, I fell in the office and I need to be compensated.
So work injuries are those that arise out of or in the course of employment.
Okay.
So that is the first and foremost important thing. And sometimes people confuse workplaces and say, for example, that you did not get injured at your workplace.
In the office.
In the office.
Okay.
Yes, or in the factory.
Or in the factory.
But the truth is that you may also be sent out to town to go and buy things by your supervisors or by one of the people that leads you. And if that happens, then of course if you get injured, that will be a work injury in the course of employment. So it can happen at your workplace, which is well defined also under the Occupational Safety and Health Act, and it has a wide range of meaning, basically where the worker is at every time that is on duty or in the course of employment.
Okay.
So this is what constitutes a work injury.
All
of
right.
course, it can also be an occupational disease that you develop as a result of exposure to occupational health hazards in your work environment.
Yeah, and we'll come back to look at then your office, what exactly it does, because there's so many people who said, yes, I was injured or I was exposed to, and then as a result of this, I developed this condition. And I know most of the time there's always the aspect of evidence. What be evidence that you are really exposed when you are in the workplace? So we'll come back and really understand more on the same. But can we also talk about, Dr. can we also talk about SMEs, right? teenage, which make up 83% of our general workforce. So where are they at? Because you see, when we're talking about workplace, we're like, hey, office, corporate, but where do they fall and as far as, safety and health?
That's a fantastic question. The way labor is organized in Kenya and in most of sub-Saharan Africa, if you look at it, is that more than, not actually 83%, in the surveys we've done, is actually more than 83% constitutes the MSE sector. And this sector is characterized by its informality, its fluidness, its changing nature, and generally the persons work for themselves. And the attributes of, for instance, having a shared responsibility on safety and health fall primarily on the MSE. All right. We also know that this sector is extremely vulnerable. From the social security perspective, most of them may not have retirement benefits. Most of them may not have a health benefit, leave alone the issue of work injury benefit. And an injured MSE worker becomes a bigger problem, not just to himself, but also to society. We know that for every one person who gets injured in Kenya, you have the potential of another person actually stopping work to take care of this person. Yes. So not only do you have this person who is injured, you also have these other people who are associated with this person who may, of essence, have to stop working in order to take care of this person. Yeah. We have a big expense in healthcare and a big expense in loss earning from this person and a bigger expense on the family. Right. So it has a big economic consideration. The informal sector, our legislations are built pretty much on the formal sector. The informal sector, the importance of the informal sector, and this is why the government, under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, specifically identified the micro and small enterprise sector as the sector that productively drives the economy. For us, in safety and health and work injury benefits, we are alive to this. And the need for us to provide the kind of information that we need in that sector. You understand, if you own your own enterprise, for example, you are the person who changes tires, and this is your business, you've employed yourself. In case the tire blows and causes you a major injury, you are the owner, you are the worker, you are the injured. Yes. Yeah. So you may not be able to go to Dr. Muruka and say that, I got injured and my employer should pay me, because you can't do that.
You should pay yourself.
Therefore, the conversation that we are having with the micro and small enterprises is much more of training and sensitization. Right. They are the most exposed to some of the hazards. The hazards of noise, they are some of the most exposed. We know the transport sector with the Boda Boda sector is just a story on its own. We know the agricultural sector with the issue of chemical usage is an entire story. We know over 40% of our people are engaged in agriculture. And getting this information out there to persons so that they can also be more responsible with themselves and be conscious of their safety and health at work is an ongoing conversation. And in this past week, we've had the opportunity to have conversation with the micro and small enterprises in conjunction with our colleagues at the Micro and Small Enterprise Authority. And we've put them through some sensitization, some training. We've also had a team that has worked with them doing medical examination and showing them the hazards and the outcomes of these hazards. Okay. So they will continue being an important part of this engagement. On the conversation of digitization, we know that our children now are working from the bedrooms. They have their computers, they are online, so they are not very conscious about how long they are going to work. They'll work for as long as they can work. They may not take breaks. They have issues of glare. They may have major musculoskeletal issues. They will be exposed to content that necessarily may give them a lot of mental health issues. These are issues that are there. And it becomes important for us to make them aware about some, so they can take a lot more responsibility for the same. And also reaching out to some of the companies that engage persons who work on platform work and online work, for them to be to engage also on artificial intelligence tools to be able to monitor how these people work and be able to correct that. So it's a big conversation which we must keep keep alive.
Absolutely happening, because again, when you start experiencing some of these impacts, it doesn't choose and say you is Miss Mia, you partner, we can't come to you. Ms. Erin, you also talked about prevention, and my question first of all would be: so when we talk about musculoskeletal, conditions and injuries, can we bring it home? Okay. Help people understand what exactly do we mean when we say, if you sit in front of your computer for this long, this is going to happen, and also the long-term impact of the same. And then I'll ask you the second question on prevention.
All right, maybe just to explain what musculoskeletal disorders mean. As you can hear, it has something to do with muscles and something to do with skeleton.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it will be because of carrying out an activity or for too long or repetitively. Yeah, you're doing the same thing again and again and again.
Yeah.
This is where digitalization and AI might help, because now the repetitive work can be taken over by machines. Like imagine anything that you need, like
like packing, for example,
packing or
moving.
A movement that you have to continue doing every now and then. That might be taken over by whatever. So at least that part we are good.
All right.
But there are others that it is not possible to do so. And imagine sitting. You have heard that the sitting now, the chair is the new cigarette. Sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah.
Because we are sitting for too long, we are not exercising,
And
so
even our posture is wrong. We sit like this most of the time.
There's a way you sit, probably even your desk or your bench, wherever you're working, it's either too high, so you're lifting your arms and then you strain on your muscles, the arm muscles and the like. So this is what a lot of this will do. So this is what musculoskeletal disorders are. Yes.
All right. So when you talk about prevention, which is mostly what I want to say your division is mandated to do, my question would be, so first of all, how much of that do we know in terms of this is the risk versus what we can do to prevent some of these conditions, and based from not just the institution and what it needs to hang pale kwa ukuta everybody sees, but also at an individual level, how much of awareness is out there in terms of the risk of this day-to-day, I would say, activities that we do that pose us?
Well, DOSH tries to, we have a program, a training program, where we carry out a lot of training in the workplaces. But we know that we are not reaching as far as we'd want to. We'd want to go even further and reach all workers. But currently, we have a number of programs, training programs, where we are creating awareness. Some to the workplaces. We have health and safety committees in workplaces where workers are more than 20. And in these workplaces, we have a statutory training curriculum, which we use to make sure that they understand all they need to do to prevent accidents and to promote occupational safety and health in their, within their workspaces, wherever they are. So that one we are doing. We also have a unit called NIOSH, National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. In this one, again, we are trying to see if we can skill or upskill workers in some particular areas of occupational safety and health. One of them is like working at heights. We have a curriculum, and we are about to mount a course on working at height to make sure that the workers that have to go up those masts, you see, the construction workers that work on those high heights, that they understand that they need, there are some issues they have to take care of to prevent themselves from falling from heights and injuring themselves or even killing themselves.
All right.
So this course, we'll mount it from next financial year, from July onwards. We have others. And a good one is for the construction sector, we have a course on safety supervisors. The law, the Occupational Safety and Health law, says that for each construction site, there must be somebody in charge of safety. But you see, the contractor can appoint anybody, can appoint you, since you're there all the time. So they might appoint somebody who might not be able to understand the risks that are inherent in that site. So we want to train everybody who is appointed as a safety supervisor to have these skills to make sure that he's able even to, to inculcate a bit of safety to each and every worker in that construction site, knowing very well that these workers, they are very temporary. They come on Monday, Friday, they are gone. If the construction ends within 6 weeks, they are gone. And then they try somewhere else. So, and in each construction site, though the general hazards are similar, there will be some specific ones for that particular site, depending on the area and what it is that they're building.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see that. So both the individual, but also, the entity, just to make sure that everybody is aware of some of these risks. Okay.
So there is all that creation of awareness we are doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
in that
I see
area.
that. And Dr. Maruka, so we talked about what qualifies as a workplace injury. You said specific, right place for it to be qualified as a workplace injury.
Yes.
So how then are these cases handled in terms of workplace injury? If I come and say I was injured in my line of duty, first of all, who do I report to? What is that process like? And then we'll also talk about the fact that we're talking about AI and the whole aspect about digitalization. Someone might ask, so are those injuries associated with those also compensable? I mean, it has to be, it was physically in line of work before.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Winnie. Let me start by stating that AI has great potential for use also in the work injury benefits administration, but I will come to that later. Now, if somebody gets injured, the first point of call is the supervisor.
Okay.
They report this to the supervisor. That is at the workplace level. Immediately that happens, the supervisor is required to conduct investigations and maybe come up with a report. And immediately, the supervisor, under the Work Injury Benefits Act, Winnie, the supervisor is an employer. It represents the employer.
Okay.
So the employer at that point is required to notify the Director of Occupational Safety and Health Services of this occurrence using a form we call DOSH-1. And I think DOSH-1 is becoming one of the most popular forms that we generate at the directorate. So they say after that, the injured person, of course, is supposed to go to hospital and is supposed to go to a doctor for treatment. I think the most important thing is treatment in the hospital.
Right.
At the workplace, the most important thing is to provide first aid so as to reduce the pain and all that and prevent the condition from worsening. So once the injured person has gone to hospital and is been treated and he has healed properly and is able to go to work, back to work, then the doctor treating is required to make an assessment and determine if there is any permanent disability or temporary disability. So temporary disability would mean like the doctor telling you, go and rest for 20 days, don't go to work until the 20th of this month. And then when it comes to permanent and total disability, the doctor might say, you have lost 10% disability.
Okay.
So you have suffered 10% disability, and it ends there for the doctor.
All right.
So once that has been done, these forms come to the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services. You have been notified that we are now present in 47 counties, although they will not go to the counties. I will tell you where they will go to shortly.
Yeah.
So the officer will make a decision. Is this injury compensable? Of course, after making a few inquiries here and there, and trying to confirm that the person who was injured is the person named in the place named, and also the nature of the injury is as written.
All right.
So the officer will say this injury is compensable or this is not compensable.
Okay.
If it is not compensable, the story ends there. Now, if it is compensable, then the officer is required to compute the work injury benefits that is due
Okay.
using the legislation, that is the Work Injury Benefits Act. So after he has computed, of course, he or she generates Doshiba 4. Doshiba 4 is the demand note for payment. So you tell the employer that this person got injured while in your employ, and we are claiming compensation on his behalf, amounting to this amount.
Okay.
So the monetary aspect comes in at that point.
Okay. Quite a rigorous process, huh?
If it was.
Yeah.
Then, of course, between that time, once this Doshiba 4 has been issued, the employer has 90 days
Okay.
within which to pay.
Okay. All right.
He also has 60 days within which to object, just like any other person who may want to object.
Okay. Okay.
Would have 60 days within which to object from the time that the Doshiba 4 has been issued.
Okay.
So 90 days, what happens?
Yeah.
No payment
Okay.
or payment.
Or payment.
If payment occurs, the matter is closed
All right.
temporarily. And I may explain later why it is
Why
temporarily.
Okay.
So if the person has refused to pay, of course now we can only refer the matter to court.
Okay. Okay. So.
But if they object,
Yeah.
then we listen. Dosh is a listening institution. We listen
Okay.
and adjudicate upon that objection or appeal. Depending on the nature of the appeal and the kind of evidence that is submitted before us, we will make a decision. If any person who was the appellant or the objector in that particular situation says, I don't agree with this once more, they have only one recourse. Go to the Employment and Labor Relations Court.
Okay.
I have seen so many cases where they still come to us. But once that process, that is a timelined process that only ends in the Employment and Labor Relations Court.
I see.
So that's the process.
Yeah. So now that we're talking about AI, technology, digitalization, automation, so someone might be curious to understand. So what or how much of that is compensable and what is not? And remember, like I said earlier on, the whole conversation about evidence, right? Because everything is is digitalized now.
Thank you, Winnie. I think your question would have been...
No, ask this instead.
It would have been that, those whose work involve the use of AI, in case they develop some kind of injury,
Yeah.
is it compensable? Maybe that's what you wanted.
That was my first question, yes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So now, having corrected the question, and it's now properly before us.
Yeah.
There are many adverse outcomes, and I'm talking about specifically about the gig economy, or what we call the platform, or the crowd work. In that particular sector, of course, we have had, it's a recent case where the content moderators have complained about some mental illness. While I don't want to engage in this, the details of this, because it is in the court, evidence now suggests that this is one of the adverse outcomes that might occur. But now this is where I also want to say that AI can be used in the moderation. Content moderation can be done by AI, so that the issue of the human factor getting exposed to these graphic pictures and all these hazardous work environment that could cause all these mental strains and mental ill health will be reduced. AI also has the capacity to moderate the working hours and set break times. It can tell you that now you need to take a break. Okay? And if we program it properly, it should even blank out everything and force you to go for break.
Oh, the break.
And then once the break time period is over, then it brings you back.
Okay.
It can also moderate the total number of working hours. Recently, I was talking to one of the people who work online in the crowd economy, crowd work, and he told me that he works 14 to 17 hours per day. And in the absence of AI, this long duration of work could cause fatigue. He can even, suffer some accidents in the process, or even mental health sometimes. So if, for us to ensure that we are able to use AI, we can use AI to do all of these things, to ensure that when the 8 hours or less, chap, imefika, then you have to change, okay, and do something. So AI has great potential. AI also has the capability to assess mental strain and stress and alert the user. And when it comes to the actual, and this might be not sad news, but good news for medical doctors who do assessments. AI is able to assess the extent to which you have been fractured and give you the figures. It only needs some kind of training.
Okay.
So, to me, AI is like flood waters. If you don't know how to swim, then you must know how to climb a tree or a hill
So
to escape the flood waters. Otherwise, it will sweep you.
Yes.
Just like Dr. said,
Yeah.
AI is the best in terms of safety and health for workers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see that. And Dr. just to piggyback on that, right? So, and we see this, we see AI or even robots now in conducting surgeries. We see them in restaurants in Nairobi. Nairobi, you will see them. They are robots serving food. Agriculture, we're seeing drones, administering pesticides and fertilizers and all those things. And even in industries, like you said, construction as well. So someone might ask, so fine, so you said AI is not here to take anybody's job. But at the same time, this is a very valid concern for so many people, because someone might say, but I was handling that. So what's going to happen to me, right? And now that in the country, we all know unemployment is such a big thing. And now add in AI, then add in robots coming to do all those things. So there's also a big concern of, will that raise the level of unemployment right here in the country? So for this groups of people who are like, hey, Sasta, doctors,
Yes.
for example,
Yes.
what's going to happen to them? Can we just talk about how then they can work in tandem to ensure that everything moves swiftly?
Thank you, Winnie. I would if you're a good history student and you look back to the time when the first car was being made, I think there were people who used to own horses, and they wondered, there were things that they would wonder about. And secondly, that first car was going at a top speed of about 35 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
And the big worry was that the air was going to be too fast for anybody to breathe it. I think where we are, we have the anxieties of the future.
Okay.
I would wish us to embrace the excitement that is posed by the future.
Okay.
At the time when we were starting the Industrial Revolution, remember, people used to make, they used to have rudimentary cottage industries. And the clothes, the shoes, the artifacts, everything was being made manually, person to person. When the Industrial Revolution began and you could do things en masse, the fear was that jobs are going to be lost. But I think if you look back, industry then put more people at work than less, to a point where people moved from the rural areas to the urban areas to try and fill up on these demands that are there.
Yeah.
This revolution that is happening is a major revolution that is going to have an almost similar impact on the workplace.
All right.
And now I think we are moving to a borderless world. Today, if I don't have to go to any consular section to look for a visa to go and work, if I can have a good internet connection and I can be productive. And we can see it. We can see people who work for multinational organizations without having to leave the comfort of where they are.
Yeah.
And they're extremely productive. This is the power of digitization. The power of AI is also there. In the workplace, you asked about evidence. How do you know that this is what caused my chronic back pain?
Yeah.
How do you know that this is what is causing my hearing,
eye problems,
my eye problem, hearing problems? And in the workplace today, you do have wearable devices, which are monitoring wearable devices that can actually check on the exposures you have.
Okay.
And you can safely say that this cumulative exposure is hazardous. And if continuous, you can actually do have evidence that is AI-based for you to say, indeed, this low back injury is caused by this. This chronic, trigger finger is caused by him writing or typewriting for a long time, or the visual strain is because you do have mechanisms to monitor that, and that can only add to your own safety. The hope is that some of these devices we are in the prevention business, and we hope that these devices should be able to help us to prevent more of the chronically occurring injuries and chronically occurring diseases. You are able to monitor the workplace for you to check the air quality on an ongoing basis and be able to report on the same. You know that this place has very high carbon dioxide levels, sulfur dioxide levels are very high, this place like this, and you can see what the worker is exposed to. So in a sense, AI gives us immense opportunity. So the opportunity for us is actually an opportunity to reskill. To reskill and join the world in the AI revolution. It makes life easier, and in the essence of in the long term, we hopefully have safer workers. New technologies we know always cause new challenges, and even the mass production that we got, we know came with certain challenges. So we do expect that the movement towards digitization, automation, and AI will cause new challenges. Currently, we've been talking a lot about physical injuries, but I'll tell you, the workplace today, the biggest problem is the mental health.
Yeah.
We have a huge mental health problem, both from the issues of stress, the issues of strain, physical strain, the issue of isolation. Yes, you work for a corporation, but the corporation is in Canada, you are in Kenya, you are alone, you don't have a team, you don't have people whom the people connection is lost. So we do have, and we see in the workplace today, a lot more of mental health issues. And that's why 2 years back, there was the launch of the National Mental Health Policy. And there was the development of the mental health guidelines at work. And we're in the process of putting together the code of practice and, of course, the implementation of the mental health policy, the mental health guidelines at work. Our legislations, if you look at them, they are liability-based legislations. It means, Winnie, if you've employed me and I'm working in your house, even if you're in Nanyuki, if something happens to that person you've employed in your house, you have responsibility. So when you have that responsibility, it makes certain presumptions about you. It makes certain presumptions that you will provide a safe working environment for the gardener you have left at home. So that if he gets a cut with a hoe, you cost it and you pay. The same principle, there's the same principle we have under work injury benefits, and in occupational safety and health to a large extent, the power relationship is such that the employer is thought to have control enough for him to give you a space that is safe for you to work. Of course, as a worker, you have a responsibility to ascribe to the safety precautions that have been put in place for you to follow the instructions you've been given to be safe. But now, in the digital age, it gives you a new challenge. The first challenge is that the workplace is no longer the workplace you knew. Your bedroom is you're being productive in your bedroom. You are doing online work. whether you are creating advertisements for Pepsi, whether you are doing voiceovers for this, whether you are doing content moderating, all this work that is being done, online writing and all those, it is work. But this work has a different relationship where your employer does not necessarily have as much control. Yet, we do have legislation that says, you know what, you work for me, if you get injured, well, I have responsibility. This is the conversation that we are currently having. In the sense that there must be a responsibility to the employer to have certain set minimums of telling you, yes, I've employed you, but please understand, I expect you to work from 8 to 5. Do not work any more than 8 to 5. I expect you to work for 8 hours, and you'll take a break. And you can put an AI module for you to be able to control how much exposure somebody has in that setting. You may also be interested in knowing where do you sit. We want you to sit in place X. When you're working this way, you're going to get this problem. So there's a lot of information that you require to give, and maybe some basic requirements that you might require for this person for him to work at home.
Okay, I see.
But you can understand that it would be difficult to fully ascribe the injuries that would happen when you are working at home to be a work-based injury. If today you are working in the office and even if you're wearing nice high heels, if you tripped your ankle, we are going to say you are at work. So what happens when you sleep in the bathroom? But you are working.
You're working.
You see?
Yeah.
These are some of the ambiguous areas that we need to begin to think about and begin to address some of the challenges that are there.
Yeah. And I think I'm just going to throw it then to you, Irene, because you're more on the prevention side. So then how do we prevent this? And especially in those gray areas where, so is this workplace? Is it not? Were you aware? And if you were aware, were you taking measures to prevent all these things, right? So how do we move forward? And I'll take that as your parting shot because unfortunately, we're coming towards the end of the conversation.
I think I will just repeat myself. Training.
Okay.
Training and education. As long as somebody is not aware, and yet an occupier or an employer gave that person work, that work should come with all the information on any risks as the person does that work. It doesn't matter where that person is. He should have been informed. That's number one. It's that one, even if it is an AI job or digitization, at least it's in our Occupational Safety and Health Act of 2007, that as long as you're giving somebody work, kindly let it be accompanied with instructions on how to do it safely. So that is one. So even if the youth will be doing that work in their bedrooms, have they been told that you cannot lie on bed and put your laptop in front of you and work because something is going to happen? Has this information reached them? Now the evidence part of that is what we usually ask the employer to show us by showing us how many training sessions has this person had, was there an induction, and the like.
All right.
Like Dr. said, it's very difficult to control the home environment for those working away from work. But there is something that can be done. There's something that can be done, and we have to enforce it. We have to enforce and make sure that if the employee complains, that's why OSHA officers are here, to make sure that we see if their rights on safety and health have been violated by the employer.
I see that. Thank you so much, Irene. And Dr. Muruka, so we talked about what's compensable and should be compensable when you're talking about AI and automation and digitalization. But at the same time, some of these things present new challenges, okay? So what are some of these new challenges? Probably you might have alluded to them a little bit, but then again, so then how do we sort that challenge? And I'll take that as your parting shots. In like 30 seconds or a minute if you can.
No, it's a long question.
All right, 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, Winnie, one of the things that we have to note is that technology runs faster than the law. So, right now we have AI technology, but the Kenya Artificial Intelligence Strategy is just was just born on 30th of March this year, 2025, just last month.
All right.
The current legislation does not mention those words called artificial intelligence or digitalization. They may be implied, but they are not mentioned in that particular legislation, especially the Work Injury Benefits Act. Number two,
Okay.
work in the digital platform has no definite employer.
Okay.
The employer is not definite. So it means that that type and nature of work is telling us that the word employer
Okay.
should start disappearing from our minds slowly.
Okay.
And it will disappear. I think by 2100, we're not talking about the employer. We'll be talking about work
Okay.
and the person who creates the work for you. So that's another challenge.
Okay.
So the next challenge is that
Okay.
that kind of work has multiple employers.
Okay.
So you have several employers.
And
We have, yes.
And unfortunately, we're being told we have to go right now. But can we continue that conversation online?
All right.
So that we bring now the solution, part of it. And Dr. Nyandusi, I wanted to ask you this in 10 seconds, if you can, 10 seconds, Kenya, because we have to go. In terms of now, we're preparing for World's, the celebrations tomorrow, right?
Yes.
What are some of these things that should be included in our policies? Because we have some of them in literally 1 second, and then we close.
I think inevitably the work processes have changed. And with the work processes changing, it becomes imperative that the policies and legislations must follow the workplace policies. And we recently reviewed we have a draft National Occupational Safety and Health Policy and a draft bill.
Okay.
And in this bill, there is a clear inclusion of the issues of digitization,
Okay.
platform work, gig work, artificial intelligence
All right.
as an inclusion of the same. I think we need to embrace AI, but be prepared for AI.
Be prepared for AI. I love that. Thank you so much for that. What a way to end the conversation. But allow us to say goodbye. Thank you so much for being such a lovely audience. Jipigeni makofi as we say goodbye. And thank you so much as well to each and every one of you for coming by today. I know this is a conversation that will continue, hata mpaka kesho, but there's a good way that we've started it. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for staying with us as well if you're watching us from home. Now you know better. Allow us to say goodbye from Laikipia County. And of course, a special thanks to the county government of Laikipia for hosting us today. My name is Winnie Lubembe. Enjoy the rest of your evening. News is coming up.